Hi guys, so today I'm going to do a video all about Demi Pointe shoes. It's been much requested. For those of you who don't know, Demi Pointe shoes are also known as soft blocks, soft points, and I'm sure there are many other words for them too. If you don't know what Demi Pointes are, they are basically like a pointe shoe. They look exactly like one. I've got some here. I'll show you in a second. They have no shank, which is the rigid part of the back, so you cannot go on point in them. The box construction is softer generally, and in some models, in my opinion, it's too soft in some brands. Sometimes the box is even half box construction, which I'll go through in a second too. So in this video, I'm going to tell you all about them, why it's great to wear them, why as a pointe shoe fitter I personally feel they are a great investment, why a lot of pointe shoe fitters feel that when people come to them from wearing Demi Pointes and advance to pointe shoes, it makes the process a lot easier. I will also talk to you about the variations on the Grishko models of Demi Pointes and also about the vegan option. I will also talk to you about my own personal experience with them, the different brands I've worn, why I personally prefer the Grishko ones and so many others, the reasons why they like them. And I'll talk to you about the importance of fitting them, what they do for you, and so forth. So let's cut to the video. So first of all, I'm going to show you a pair of Grishko Demi Pointe shoes that one of my customers has ordered. Now, this one, let me just do you a little bit of close-up. This one is based on a Grishko 2007 model. Now, it's important to know that pretty much all Grishko models can be made as Demi Pointe shoes. A lot of people don't know this because shops that do stock the Grishko Demi Pointe tend to do the 2007 version, which is just called Exam. The problem with this is if you haven't got the foot suited for a 2007 pointe shoe, then in my opinion you're not really going to be able to work with the 2007 Demi Pointe version, and the reason usually is the vamp on it's a bit too long. I will go through in a second about the importance of getting the right fit. So I just want to show you these. They look really beautiful, very sleek. They have, as I've mentioned, no shank, so as you can see the back is just nice and flexy. The Demi Pointe area is a bit more rigid, which is good. The box construction is more softer, and it's softer on the wing, but it's still got enough toughness there to keep your feet, you know, grasped nicely in the shoe. And it's got such a gorgeous shape. In fact, well, I would say this, wouldn't I? But all the Grishko Demi Pointes give a nice shape to the foot as long as you're in the right fitting and you're also in the right model for you. The vegan option comes with a vegan sole, so this part would not be suede, it would be made vegan. The special order vegan ones are, of course, they take 6 weeks, up to 6 weeks to arrive. So if you're in a rush, you want to make sure you get them in advance if you need vegan option. If you need a Grishko Demi Pointes in a different model, you also tend to have to special order those as well. I do believe there are certain models available off the rack, so to speak, but others you do have to special order. So the Grishko ones are very gorgeous. I personally wear the Grishko ones as well, although I need a new pair. So I'm personally going to special order mine with a vegan sole, and I'm also going to go for the Maya 1 model, which some of my other customers have done. I will put these on myself in a minute because they are my size in length. They're just a little bit too wide for me, but I'll pop them on my feet in a second so you can see how they look. Let's go through a few reasons why Demi Pointe shoes are good for you. There's, you know, two different schools of thought here. Some teachers, schools, whatever, don't care about Demi Pointe shoes. They just transition their students when they're ready onto pointe, which is fair enough. But let me tell you, as a pointe shoe fitter, I can see the difference personally, and I've spoke to other fitters and they can see the difference too. This doesn't go to say that when you go to actually go on pointe you're not going to be ready. That's not true. It just means you're going to be more aware of how your feet are going to feel in the shoe, and also you're just going to feel more at ease with transitioning to point. Now Grishko themselves do a kind of step-by-step process that they encourage, which is starting with the Demi Pointe shoe and then transitioning to a shoe called Alice, which is like a point shoe and it can be worn for light bar work, then going on to the novice model, which is again like a 2007, but it's a super soft shank and it has a softer box, and then finally going on to the actual point shoe, so like a 2007. Although the novice 2007 can be worn by other dancers if they do like a softer shank and a softer box, but of course because it is more lightweight it is going to die quicker. Just thought I'd mention that part. Now the reasons for wearing the Demi Pointes, I would like to go through my own personal reasons and the reasons why some teachers do it too. They basically, when you're working in a soft ballet slipper, because you don't have this, you don't have the toe box and the shape of the point shoe, you're just in slippers. Of course you can gain strength that way, but in a point shoe, a Demi Pointe shoe, you're in more constriction, and because the sole has a bit more of a stiffness to it as such, you feel like you have to work your foot more, especially when you're doing centre work. Now, by having to work more on the foot and your ankle, you're building up your strength, and all the little muscles in your foot that you need for point work are working a lot better together. You also learn to point your feet so much better. I personally felt that it worked great for me because I wasn't really pointing much from the ankle. I was relying too much on my forefoot to point, and I don't have, although my toes are straight when I point my foot, I actually have slightly curled other toes, so I really needed to work on my strength, and Demi Pointe shoes really did that for me. They're also really great, everyone's got their weaker side, and for me personally mine was my left because I've rolled that ankle a lot and I have plantar fasciitis. It really helped my left foot. I haven't worn Demi Pointes much recently, but when I get my new ones I certainly will be going back to them. So when someone comes to me and they're getting their first point shoes, I can generally see straight away that they've worn Demi Pointes. I know it sounds crazy, but I can just see it. The way that when I put the point shoes on them and I get them to go on point, I can see so much more different placement and strength. I can also, with the younger girls as well, I can see that it's not such a big step, going from a Demi Pointe shoe to a point shoe. When I put the shoe on, they're not, some girls can be a bit, on edge about it, which is, natural. So because they're used to having their foot in a toe box like this, when you put an actual point shoe on, it's not such a big step up. They also work of course very well on Demi Pointe because of the sole. Now the good thing about the Grishko ones is they have this nice flat sole. So when you're working in them, although you've got a little bit of a wobble, it's not too drastic. I have to show you the difference, right? This is another brand. I'm not going to name brands because, everyone likes different things. But I've probably worn 5 different brands over the years in Demi Pointes, and I always went back to Grishko. These are a pair of my older ones. Can you see that this sole, I've had to shave it down because it was so thick and rigid, I felt incredibly wobbly. And not to the point where it was me, because I'm weak. It was to the fact that it just wasn't working for me. Also, the sole ended quite soon to the heel, so I always felt it was digging under my foot and it was really uncomfortable. The box was also way too squishy even from the start, so I felt like the box wasn't actually going to do much. And if you've been placed in a Demi Pointe shoe that's too soft in the box, you're not going to get used to the feeling of a real point shoe box, and you're also not going to be able to do much work with the box itself, So that's just my own view. I've worn, like I said, quite a few brands of Demi Pointes, and I had various problems, and that was one of the number one issues for me. So I'm really glad that the Grishko ones have that nice flat sole. It's such a dream. Another important factor is the vamp length of a Demi Pointe shoe. If it's too long, you're really going to struggle when you're working for the Demi Pointe. It will cut into the top of your foot and you will feel unable to achieve your highest Demi Pointe. So when I fit Demi Pointe shoes, again, you know, you need to go for a fitting for Demi Points. You can't just buy them online. It's not worth it. All the brands fit differently, just like pointe shoes do. You have the length and the width. You know, personally, what I do is I fit using actual pointe shoes. I don't get the dancer to go on point, of course, but I use a pointe shoe as the size guide. I find the correct model and then I work out from there. Generally speaking, some dancers actually prefer to maybe have a different width or a different length to their pointe shoe. So if they're already on point and they like the Grishko model they're in and they'd like it as a Demi Pointe version, we kind of assess from there how it's going to work as a Demi Pointe shoe. I get them to do different things with their feet. I like to really analyse how the shoe is sitting, how sleek it looks when they're achieving that Demi Pointe. I like to ensure, you know, the heel stays in place. I like to see that it looks pretty as well. It's very important, of course, to be comfortable in them on the flats. So, you know, sometimes going up a width can be beneficial. But, you know, a lot of dancers also keep their same size as their Grishko model pointe shoe in their Demi Pointe, depending on the model they go for. What else can I tell you? Another good thing about Demi Points is the fact that they teach you how to jump and land in actual pointe shoes. The number one thing when girls transition to pointe and they are learning just to even walk in their pointe shoes, and to learn to even just do, you know, even petit allegro, even more so grand allegro, because with grand allegro it's really hard to learn how to point the feet correctly and land without making such a racket, but also land and feel balanced. By working in a Demi Pointe, it really does help with that. Because, you know, when you're doing petit allegro in pointe shoes, it really is a challenge to actually get that elevation, but also be able to point the feet very well and land in a nice stable position. There is a downside to Demi Pointe shoes. One of the things that can go wrong, especially in younger students, if they haven't learned to point the foot correctly, they can end up clawing their toes like this when they point, and you can't see it in the pointe shoe. Some teachers actually get students to take off their soft shoes once in a while and see their bare foot working to make sure they're using their feet correctly. So, you know, in a Demi Pointe shoe, you can't really see what's going on because of the box is there, you know, hiding your toes, so to speak, whereas in a soft technique shoe, you can see the toes, and if someone was bending them or, you know, clawing, you would kind of see it more in a soft shoe, whereas you wouldn't see it really in a Demi Pointe. So it is important for teachers to be aware that it's not just, you know, put the Demi Pointe shoes on and so be it. You want to be checking that the students are still using their feet correctly. Another thing that can go wrong with Demi Pointe shoes with fittings is if you have a length that is too tight, or if you grow, you know, have a growth spurt, you can put too much pressure on the back of your Achilles. So even if the heel isn't right, or maybe you do the drawstring too tightly, it puts a lot of pressure and you can end up with Achilles tendonitis. So getting the correct length is really crucial. It's important to know that just wearing Demi Points alone isn't going to make you ready for pointe work. You still need to make sure that you're doing all your foot and ankle exercises, and of course your core strength too, working on your knees, your turnout, a nice straight back, you know, all these things work together. So don't be fooled into thinking that you're going to get your Demi Pointe shoes, you know, you're going to wear them for a year and, you know, that's it, you're going to get on point and you're going to be like amazing, because it does not work like that. You know, you've got to put that effort in all the other areas. So it's recommended that you go to an actual pointe shoe fitter to get your Demi Points fitted. Of course, there are many brands, you know, find a brand that suits you. I have found that a lot of people have actually wrote to me and told me that, you know, they're really glad they've found the Grishko ones, because like me, they couldn't stand the wobbly sole, and they also found that the vamp length on other brands was too long for them, and also other factors such as if you've got narrow feet, or the opposite, you've got really wide feet, they couldn't find the right width. You also want to think about the profile height, okay? So although it's not a pointe shoe, you want to make sure that the profile height is right for your foot, because if it's too low, you're going to ooze out the top of the shoe and it's not going to look pretty, and it's also going to cut into your foot and it's going to be quite uncomfortable. If it's too high, so this is the profile height here, if it's too high, you're going to be very gapey around the top of the shoe. It's not going to encase your foot correctly, and you're not going to be able to work in your demi points that well. So I can't stress enough, you know, how important it is that you go and get yourself fitted by someone who knows what they're doing. If you're local to me, I'm in Essex and London, I travel all over, you know, you're welcome to either come to me or I can come to you to fit your demi points. I often fit demi point shoes at the same time for people having a point shoe fitting. Also, you know, demi points aren't just for people that are transitioning to point work eventually. They are for everybody, you know, any age. Well, not any age, you know, you have to be a certain age. It's no good putting, say, an 8-year-old in a pair of demi points, in my opinion. You want to, I'd say it's a nice starting age would probably be 9 years old, maybe, if they've got the right technique and they're quite ready. A teacher would know. You know, I tend to see girls get demi point shoes even at 14, 15. Even when they've got their actual point shoes, because they need them for exams. So with like the Royal Academy of Dance, I know that they wear them in certain grades, and for my own syllabus, which is British Association of Teachers of Dancing, we can wear them for elementary grade and other grades above that. It's actually not compulsory now, but it used to be, as far as I know. So it's nice, you know, it just kind of shows off your feet more. I think if you have that option to wear them in an exam, then I would say go for it, but just don't like willy-nilly put them on and think that you're gonna be fine. Make sure that you've worn them previously to get them molded to your foot a bit more, and to also get used to the feeling of a demi point. That's another reason people go wrong with some of the rad girls that have come to me. RAD, sorry, and they, you know, haven't worn demi points in a long time, and they all of a sudden stress because they need them for an exam. I always warn them that, you know, make sure you've put them on at home and also in class and get used to them before you go into the exam, because, you know, you could just not be used to them anymore, or if you've not worn them before, and then you go in your exam and you lose a few marks because, you know, you've actually not been able to keep as stable as you would in a soft shoe. Also, you know, with demi points, you can wear toe padding or toe protection. You could wear nothing if you like, which is preferable if you feel comfortable. But don't worry, you can wear a toe pad if you want to. Just be aware to wear whatever you're going to wear in the point shoe, demi point shoe, at the fitting, because it will affect the fit of the shoe, especially the width. You can wear, you know, a big gel toe cap if you need to, toe spacers if you really feel the need, bunion guards, jelly tubes, works. Don't put too much in the shoe though, like, you know, with me in point shoe fitting, I like to fit with minimal padding and work my way up and still keep it minimal, so we get the perfect fitting shoe, and also that you can work your foot correctly and you get that beautiful articulation. Also, with ribbon placement, it's the same as a point shoe. That's what I tend to do. So I do the same thing like I personally do. I put it on my foot first. I work out, I place the ribbons in, and I kind of put them over my ankle to work out exactly where I need them. I also wear elastics on mine. You don't have to. If you can get away with no elastics on a demi point, fair enough. But it just gives you that extra security like a point shoe, and also ensures that the heel will stay firmly in place. So, you know, if you've got a narrower heel, you can do that. If you do need a special order pair, we can change different things about the demi point for you, such as the heel height, side quarters, you know, the vamp length, drawstring, no drawstring, and so forth. So the options for Grishko demi points really are endless. I think they might be the only brands that actually gives you the opportunity to have various models as a demi point and be able to, you know, make them to your own requirements, which is just wonderful. So I think I've covered pretty much everything, but as always, I am human, so I might have forgotten some things. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm sorry if I don't reply instantly. I do get a lot of emails, but I will try my very best. If I think of anything more to add, I might, you know, make another video to go with it. So yeah, now I'm just going to show you the shoes on my feet. Okay, so you're going to have to excuse my lovely lilac socks, but I couldn't be bothered to put any ballet socks or ballet tights on. I wanted to keep the shoes clean. So these are the 2007 version of a demi point. For me personally, these are too long in the vamp, but the shape isn't too bad. Yeah, let's just